Grenada has updated its guidelines for quarantine and testing for locals and visitors as the country deals with an increase in positive COVID-19 cases and the emergence of the new variant, Omicron. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sean Charles says individuals who have been in contact with positive cases should get tested within 5 to 7 days after exposure. This will be followed by a quarantine period of up to 7 days. If symptoms are present, testing should be done immediately at the nearest health facility. Fully vaccinated persons are required to be quarantined only under certain conditions.
These persons will not be required to quarantine following contact, except if they reside in the same household with a positive case. Because a lot of the times when you're in the household, I don't think there are many persons who are wearing masks in their house around their family members. All right. So for fully vaccinated persons, they are not required to quarantine, except they are living in that setting. And of course, they should get tested 5 to 7 days. Now remember, everyone is expected to be wearing their mask and following the protocols as I mentioned before. For fully vaccinated persons who test positive, the full duration of quarantine of isolation is 10 days. All right. So isolation, all right, when someone tests positive, 10 days. However, isolation can end earlier, 5 to 7 days, with a negative antigen test.
During the government's first weekly post-cabinet press briefing for the new year, Dr. Charles says the quarantine period is the same for unvaccinated and partially vaccinated individuals.
So the quarantine is 7 days if they are a close contact with a positive case while not wearing a mask. So these persons would quarantine. Now, if you have just a casual contact with someone, all right, and you are wearing your mask correctly, there is no need to quarantine.
Visitors who recently recovered from the COVID-19 and are desirous of traveling to Grenada must provide proof of a positive test of no more than 90 days and a negative antigen test.
A person who has recently had COVID-19 may be allowed to travel to Grenada with evidence of recovery. They need to walk with some documents that shows evidence that they have recovered. So you recently had COVID, maybe travel out, you recently had COVID, you've completed, you recovered. You can travel into Grenada, but you must produce evidence that you have recovered. And this evidence include, you must present the positive test, all right, on a sample taken no more than 90 days before arriving in Grenada. So it's not like you tested positive in June last year and you can just come into Grenada without any. No, it cannot be more than 90 days. Because beyond that, you get a positive test. We'll consider there's the potential that you might have been reinfected with another variant. So it shouldn't be more than 90 days. And so in addition to the original positive test, that should be no more than 90 days, you must carry a letter from your healthcare provider or from a public health official stating that you are cleared to travel. All right, so that's 2. And 3, you must have a negative antigen test within 1 day.
The period of isolation for unvaccinated people is 14 days. However, isolation can end between 7 to 10 days with proof of a negative antigen test.